when minorities tell you they're offended by something, usually, especially liberals and leftists, they'll listen
How did my
because
whole
it's not
shit
their
just get
place, right?
fucked
They'll
up?
say it's not my place. If you say it, then that's what it is. I mean, Jews make up 60% of all hate crimes in America right now.
Mm-hmm.
When Jewish people look at that and they say, "Listen, it makes me uncomfortable the way that that's used." I find it interesting that people see that as an opportunity to argue instead of listen. Especially to me, it's like you can make the same argument about the Confederate flag, where Southerners will be like, "Listen, it's just about our heritage." You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with racism. And maybe and some people do believe that, right? But at the end of the day, if a black person is like, that Confederate flag is offensive to me, you're not going to argue with them and say, no, it's just heritage. Like, not everybody who uses it is racist. So then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't seem fair.
I know, but its origination, its inception comes from the PFLP, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which you're right was considered a terrorist.
Existed before Nazis.
Okay,
you know,
hold on.
Just saying.
I understand. I'm going to describe it. Okay.
Okay, Ethan has definitely been watching my shit. Holy shit. Oh, man.
Historically, since the 60s, it has always been utilized as a slogan for emancipation and never for anti-Semitism. The reason why Hamas adopted it, the reason why Hamas co-opted it when they had 3% support as opposed to the PLO, which had 83% support, right? Alongside the PLO, was because it was the slogan that was the slogan for Palestinian emancipation. This does not mean that like that slogan changed at any given point to mean killing all the Jewish people just because it was co-opted by a marginal militant faction that in and of itself has never reached a similar level of popularity to even a two-state solution has historically amongst Palestinians. They've never pulled anywhere near 52% support.
In which part of this do you think it's fair to argue with a group that makes up 80% of all hate crimes that happen in America, or not 80, 60%?
Because
that you can argue with them and say, no, it's fine.
I'm going to tell you. Because, well, two reasons. One, Palestinians are the oppressed party in the structure against the state of Israel. Not Jews, the state of Israel, which does not...
Remember, for the Marxist analysis, the only thing that matters is the oppressor-oppressee dynamic. There is no other analysis that's ever taken into consideration for these conflicts. This is like where intellectual thought goes to die, are these forms of analysis. They're so bankrupt, and they're so reductive.
A disingenuous framing, a disingenuous conflation. Jewish people themselves say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Jewish people are at the forefront of the anti-apartheid, anti-Zionist activism, Jewish Voice for Peace, Jews for Economic. And
the existence of Jewish people doesn't, I don't know, that point is not very persuasive. I mean, of course there is.
What do you, of course it's, I think it's very important.
Because there's Israelis that say it. Or a minority or Jewish people shouldn't be offended by it because some people say it. I mean.
No, I think
that's not a strong argument. That's correct. No.
Jewish people, I'm not going to talk about this as like Jewish people in general. The reason why I brought up Jews for Jewish Voice for Peace and other groups using this as well, like Jews themselves in America using this anti-Zionist slogan, indicates that this slogan isn't one that is about the evisceration of Jews. If that was the case, then they wouldn't use it.
There was Jewish collaborators with Nazis.
Ethan, don't do that, please. Don't say that the Jews' Voice for Peace are akin to capos. Like that's.
I'm telling you that
just because it's the same. It is the same.
Jewish voices doesn't
not validate it or say that it's not hateful.
A leg to stand on. I don't understand that.
But
of course,
but you're failing. But the most important component here,
it's like you're tokenizing a few Israelis.
Yep, correct. Silly. That's exactly what he's doing.
What?
Yep.
Ethan,
you're like, here, check out my Israeli. He says it.
Yep.
That's not.
That's exactly what Hasan is doing.
I don't find it a good point.
Well, I will explain to you why it's not a comparison.
Let me educate you.
Because I think you agree with me on this as well, that it's Palestinian emancipation is just, right?
Well, what do you mean?
It's just. Whereas the Confederacy is not. The Confederacy was there to preserve. they said states' rights, but it was there to preserve the maintenance of slavery. Palestinian emancipation is not or has not ever been broadly defined at any moment throughout its history. The evisceration of all Jews living in Israel, or the forcible expulsion of all Jews living in Israel. Other militant factors that were
I don't believe that's true. I'd have to go back and check, but in 48, wasn't the goal the expulsion of all the Israeli people from that territory? In 48? I thought that was the goal in that war in 48. It might have even been the goal in the 6 day. No, I think it was the explicitly stated goal in the 6 day war as well, right? Is the explicitly the expulsion of all the Israeli people from that area.
Where the motivations lie. You have
to go back and I'm pretty sure it was. But
is that you're saying that Israel,
I don't care
as a
about
country,
how Israelis view it. I will admit that I don't.
And Jews at large, I think I think most Jews.
I don't think Jews at large view it. I don't think that is the.
In what position are you to even say that?
Well, I'm in the position of like
educated person.
I'm telling you,
almost
large,
entirely getting. I know. My perspective is not motivated by myself. It's motivated by Jews against anti-Zionist Jews.
Seriously, how can you speak for my entire ethnic group? I find that really interesting.
Shit.
I don't speak for your entire ethnic group.
How many Jews have you polled about if they find that offensive or not?
It doesn't matter if people find it offensive.
You know a ton of Jews.
It doesn't matter if Jews find it offensive, Ethan.
Doesn't matter if a minority group finds something anti-Semitic?
Yes, of course, because we're not talking about Jews at all. We're talking about Israel. This is this is a conflation between Israel and...
No, in this case, the perception is because that phrase has been co-opted by terrorist groups and it's been used widely by terrorist groups, and the idea that's being communicated, although we've talked about the one state idea today and the way that we've discussed it definitely seems like more realistic.
Yeah, Hamas also says free Palestine. That doesn't change the meaning behind free Palestine. It doesn't mean anything. What you have to look at is what the broader Palestinians, what the Palestinian movement believes, what the Palestinian movement implies when they're saying this. And it's important. It's important because, like, what are people to do, Ethan? What is the solution?
Ethan.
We say Palestinians can't say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. There's people claiming that even saying a ceasefire is actually against Israel's best interests, or even anti-Semitic, as a matter of fact. At a certain point, you have to realize that, like, maybe it's a little disingenuous, and that it's more so to just like squash any amount of any amount of sentiment expressed towards Israel.
At any point, should you think about maybe I should ease off this because it is offensive to the vast majority of Jews, interpret it in a not nice way, despite what people's intentions are, and that maybe it's counterproductive to double, triple, quadruple down on it?
No, because I'm not going to.
How does that help the cause of Palestinian freedom? When people go,
because I'm not going to make concessions that I don't that hold no historic weight, that I'm actually listening to the Palestinians when they say what they mean, because I don't have this like secret because I don't have this like secondary assumption that Palestinians actually are sneakily meaning something else. Like they're like actually talking about the destruction of Jews.
Don't you think Ethan is being soy here? No, I think it's a fair point to point out for a progressive. Although Hasan is, I think, largely not really progressive anymore. I think he's kind of abandoned that for the further left stuff. I think progressives tend to be more identified by obsession with a lot of id poll topics. And I think for like MLs, or for just people that consider themselves to be illiberal, like farther left than that, I don't think they really consider themselves to be progressive. Like, I think Hasan would probably generally argue against a lot of the id poll shit because he's more concerned with like the material analysis, the class analysis. He doesn't give a fuck much about that. So Ethan probably doesn't see this distinction much, and I think Hasan probably dips into the progressive soy shit every now and then. So it's probably confusing for Ethan. But
at what point, at what level of co-opting do you think it's time to phrase this out?
At what level of co-optation? I told you already. The swastika is a great example of this. The Nazis are gigantic.
So it's not racist. So it's not racist until there's like a full mass systemic genocide of Jews.
Wait, no, why doesn't this work sometimes?
It's not racist until there is a broad movement behind full-blown ethnic cleansing of Jewish people. Yes, even if it's like in support. There is no in the grand scheme of things, throughout the history of Palestinian emancipation, which I will reaffirm my support for, I do believe it is just and I believe it is moral. Throughout that history, Hamas is but a mere blip. Okay, Hamas is but a mere blip, and even to this day is not has never reached broad popularity. Hamas
That's
itself is
true.
like reinstituted its charter as well. If you want to believe
This
what
doesn't
they're
work.
saying,
If I change
doesn't
the
matter.
name of this
But
note, will it
ultimately,
change this link here?
The mantra itself predated Hamas and will continue to exist as
does.
long as
Okay,
there is an
thank God.
occupation. So having a conversation about the optics of optics of a
Listen,
slogan,
I'm
when
not saying-
11,000 Palestinians have been ruthlessly slaughtered by that same state, is ridiculous to me.
The concern for it has nothing to do with what the Israeli government is doing, the ethnic cleansing and murdering of Palestinians. It's got nothing to do with that. Invoking that is not fair. 57% of Gazans, by the way, and I'm not criticizing them. I understand why people would support Hamas during all this who are in Gaza, but you say that, I mean, they have.
Yes, in 2017,
they have white support in the
Hamas
West Bank
changed its
and-
charter in
and
order to
Gaza.
gain international recognition.
It has wide support in Gaza and the West
In
Bank.
2017,
So
Hamas changed
you're
its
saying-
charter in order to maintain its civil governance factions and also gain international recognition, as had prior terror cells like the ones that you mentioned that Ben Shapiro still considers a terrorist, like Yasser Arafat, as they try to do the exact same thing. You might not believe them. Okay, I do think that there are certainly still anti-Semitic people inside of Hamas, of course, but ultimately,
Not all of them?
Palestinian people saying that they
You
support
think there's
violent
you think there's
emancipation.
Hamas people that are secular and cool and don't hate Jews?
Ask about the
Do I think there are
KKK.
Hamas militants? Absolutely, yes,
No, no.
100%.
No, that's not what I asked. I said, do you think there's Hamas people that are like chill and secular and they don't hate Jews?
Oh, 100%. Well, yeah, you can.
And there were
yell
people in the KKK that probably didn't want to lynch black people, right? Say
at-
that.
believe it.
Oh my.
They're fucking 18, 19-year-olds. They don't know anything except fucking bombs being blown up in their heads. That is simply That is simply a means of violent retaliation. I don't think people operate on being bad and being good. I think people operate on holy. There's a bomb blowing up in my face that killed my family. I hate this state, and I'm going to join whichever faction will allow me to continue fighting against this state. Not every single person is like motivated by like cleansing every Jewish person in
I'll send you a
Israel.
link.
If that was the case, they would not
I-
have tried to make a. They would not have tried. Okay,
Let's see
if
what
that was the
message-
case, they would not have tried to change their charter and become more and recenter their posturing so that they can get international recognition. Whether it was going to
Hamas,
happen
the
or
true
not is one other
centrists.
thing.
The original one was like insane.
Yeah,
And who the
yeah,
fuck's
no,
gonna support
I
that?
agree. I agree.
Open this link. I mean, this was just happened last week.
The level of popularity and the intentions of Palestinians have never been historically or in contemporary society to ethnically cleanse Jewish people out of Israel or ethnically cleanse Jews as a whole, right? Depending on who you talk to on the side of defending Israel or on the side of like genuine concern, expressing genuine concern over a statement like this,
That is
it
Hamas's
ranges
goal,
from
though.
it doesn't matter what Hamas's goals is when Hamas in and of itself in this very moment has never captured a broad
Yes, buddy.
popularity and is literally not it's not popular, it won't be popular, it will never be popular. There are Palestinian Christians living under Hamas.
one
There are
sec,
too
sorry.
many different opinions. There's a couple factors to consider here, okay? Like Allahu Akbar means God is great. But for the longest time in American politics, Allahu Akbar was seen as a threat, okay? Constituted a threat. A valedictorian literally said one nation under Allah in her fucking speech a couple years back, and people got mad at her instead of saying one nation under God. We cannot massage our expectations in a morally righteous cause to to tailor the needs, to suit the needs of those who are ostensibly defending the maintenance of an unjust structure. I think it's ridiculous to concede on a point like this, especially as someone who takes anti-Semitism very seriously. I don't think that it's appropriate. Mark Lamont Hill was literally fired from CNN a couple years prior for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free at the end of his speech at the UN. Okay, this man is a scholar. This man is a historian. He delivered a speech in front of the entirety of the United Nations, and CNN fired him. Why did they fire him?
Well, I'm assuming that you don't believe Israel has the right to exist.
I don't believe Israel has a right to exist as an apartheid state. No, I don't. I don't believe that an apartheid state can continue.
From the river to the sea essentially means the state of Israel is going bye-bye.
Yep.
The reason why I brought up the historic reference point is because in its charter in 1960, I think it was like in 1965, the PFLP that first implemented this slogan literally said they wanted the Zionist entity to be dismantled so that there is a democratic secular state for all Jews living in Israel and all Palestinian Muslim Christians alike. A lot of Israelis, like you also personally mentioned, right, believe that a secular singular state would mean genocide. But you also have been reasonable and have come to terms with the Israeli fears being overrepresented in this conversation. And this is the exact same conversation being played out once again. When I talk about emancipatory movements, I feature the actual people that are being wronged in this process and not the considerations of those who are defending, maybe not directly oppressing those people who are asking for a just cause that are morally on the right side, but those who are defending those who are wronging them. I don't care about the considerations of people who defend Israel in that situation.
The Palestinians are the ones being wronged, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Then they can't be. Then they can use that phrase they can use phrases with impunity.
Oh, never mind.
Israel.
He's in Corey Shuster's interviews.
I mean, if they said, kill all the Jews, then no, of course not. That's not a phrase that they can use with impunity.
What if they said Israel shouldn't exist?
Israel shouldn't exist?
Israel shouldn't exist.
It depends. It depends contextually.
Okay.
It's entirely.
It's
entirely about whether or not it is contextually appropriate. It's like the OK sign. Nazis use it. You know what I mean? But contextually speaking, if you hit the fucking OK sign, it doesn't mean you're a Nazi. If someone is talking about Israel cannot exist within the framework that it currently exists, then yes.
How many people are talking about it like that though? Like I know you are, and in like your political circles and stuff, people do talk about that. But when someone out, just in the world says Israel shouldn't exist, I don't think, I wouldn't assume their intentions are always pure.
Precisely why I said context is appropriate. Context is
right, but in most contexts,
I guess. No, I don't think in most context. I don't agree with that. It's like saying
the Battle of Karama considered part of the war
America shouldn't exist in the way that it does. Is like when I say it, it's different. I'm an American citizen. When you and I can say it easily,
doesn't have any weight. There's no terrorist group trying to fucking kill Americans.
What? Yes, there. Wait, I thought I don't get it. I thought Hamas was crossing the fucking southern border to come and destroy America.
Right.
Like,
well,
I know you're not saying that yet. But
I know it is crazy that people are saying that. I agree. It's absolutely fucking nuts that they think that. But anyway, that's where I'm coming from. I'm just telling you the Jewish perspective. That's why people don't.
No.
When they hear it
from the river, no, you're not telling me the Jewish perspective. You're telling me.
I am.
You're telling me the pro-Zionist.
You can't say it's just the Jewish perspective when.
I'm telling you because Jews. I know they're talking about Israel, but when Jews around the world hear someone say Israel shouldn't exist from the river to the sea, which is how it's interpreted, they see that, again, I keep bringing this up, they see it as a genocide.
Okay.
Can
I ask you a question?
I'm just telling you that's what it is.
The perspective of like, like I said, it's not every single Jew or like the Jewish perspective. Jews are not a monolith. I think that it's ridiculous to make this assertion when, like, again, Jews, anti-Zionist Jews, are at the forefront of criticizing Israel and have been using this term in perpetuity, and therefore comparing them to capos is, like, I think very inappropriate.
Dude, no. My point in comparing them is to say you can find support on any movement by anybody. But that's not a broadly. But that's not like a. Hey, It
But
doesn't.
that's not a tiny, minuscule percentage of the Jewish population. That's a very important percentage of Jewish scholars. It's a very important percentage of Israeli scholars. It's an important percentage of
So
Jewish people in
you're
general.
saying that you know that there's a large portion of Jewish people around the world that say from the river to the sea.
Not a large portion
What
of Jewish
percentage?
people around the
Asking
world.
for the percentage.
But I don't
So how
concern
many are we
myself.
talking?
Yes,
I don't
asking for the
concern
percentage.
myself with
Push
what
'em.
Jewish people think about a particular slogan when I'm talking about a particular slogan that is supposed to be, when I'm giving you the historical context of where the slogan comes from, not necessarily like how Jewish people perceive it, especially when Jewish people on either side of this equation are a tiny sliver of the conversation. Anti-Zionist Jews do not make up the broader movement, just like Zionist Jews do not make up the broader movement of defending Israel. It's literally we're living on a planet where
invoking that there's Jewish people that agree with you is I'm just saying I don't think it's a good argument. That's all.
no, I'm simply the reason why I mentioned that is
Sure, you
because
can find
if you
Palestinian-
consider
you
it
can-
to be
I'm sure you can find
an
Arabs and Palestinians
eradication
that are like in favor of the occupation too.
No, the reason why I brought that, Ethan, and the reason why I think it's a disingenuous framing to compare it to the Confederate flag or to say that Jewish people agreed with like Hitler or whatever, is because a lot of these Jews who are anti-Zionist. You probably respect a lot of these Jews who are anti-Zionist. Do you think that they would actually fucking defend a phrase that unironically is pushing for their ethnic cleansing? Do you think that is the case? I ask you in all
talking
sincerity.
about a real measurable group of people. You're just using Jewish people as a token.
Yeah. What
That's
percentage of
not
Jewish people think that?
true.
He should
That's-
ask
And
him
who
what
are these
percentage.
people?
Yes. What
You're
percentage?
talking about 100, 200?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking
I'm
about
talking
here?
about the tens of thousands
I
of
mean,
Jews
what
that have
percentage?
been demonstrating.
Tens of thousands is a
on
small
the
number.
streets
Wait, what
since-
percentage?
And you've
Asking
asked
for a
them,
percentage.
October
how they
9th.
feel about from the river to the sea. You've polled them on that.
There are literally written,
Literally.
there's so much written articles on this exact same thing, this sloganeering and what it actually means. Yes. They're the ones who are screaming it. They are the ones who are screaming it. Yes.
Really? Show me all the Jews screaming from the river to the sea. I'd like to see a fucking video of that.
No, don't
Even
ask for
one
a
would
video.
actually be quite surprising. Find me one video of a
You're,
Jewish
of course,
person
you're going to be able to
screaming
find a
from
video.
the river to the sea.
Oh,
Okay.
Ethan fucked up.
Go ahead.
Ethan fucked up.
Dude, this argument you're making is ridiculous.
What do you mean the argument
Because
is ridiculous?
that's like saying if I can find a Palestinian to say the occupation is justified, then saying the occupation is justified isn't anti-Palestinian.
No, because the morality behind what he's saying is incorrect. The morality behind what from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is correct. That's the major difference.
That's not how the Jews see it. They see it
now,
as.
but now we're having having two
All right.
separate conversations. We're having
No,
two
we're
separate
not.
conversations. If
Dude,
you and I are
I'm
both
just
in agreement of
telling you-
Palestinian emancipation, which you say you are, and I believe you, then why would, like, if you believe in Palestinian emancipation and you don't believe in a permanent occupation over Gaza, who gives a fuck if you can find a Palestinian that says no, eviscerating Gaza is correct? Like, the conversation is not on the boundaries of like Jewish people versus
don't see it
Palestinians.
as
The
a
conversation
morally
is on
just statement.
Zionism versus anti-Zionism.
The Jewish people do not interpret that as a morally just statement. I mean, obviously, that is completely subjective.
Well, the reason why I mentioned that you're wrong in this, I'm sure there are a lot of Jewish people that don't interpret it as morally just. They think that it means like
Therefore,
ethnic cleansing.
you don't
but
care
what
about
you're
anyone
supposed to
else?
do in that situation is not to immediately go, all right, well, Jewish people don't think this is appropriate, so
I'm gonna
so
go
it's
find
not
black
allowed.
people. I'm gonna go find a group of black people say the Confederate flag isn't racist. I'm gonna go find.
Ethan, please
you
stop.
know,
No,
a
don't
bunch-
do that. Don't do that.
You're,
Don't
no,
do that.
you're being ridiculous. This
No,
point is
Ethan,
fucking
you're making a
absurd, bro.
conflation that
However
makes you look
many Jews you can
horrible.
put in
Why
a
don't
room
you
to
see
agree with
this?
you
Oh,
means fucking
no.
nothing.
Ethan,
I'm
you're making a
telling you, I
conflation that
know.
literally makes you look so bad. Please stop doing that. Please.
Doing what? Doing what?
Stop
Disagreeing with
bringing
me.
up slogans of an oppressive party in comparison to slogans that come from the oppressed side. It is a false conflation. It is
All
a
I'm
false
telling you
conflation.
is why people find it offensive. You don't want to hear it, and that's fine. or you disagree. I'm telling you why people find it offensive.
the-
They see it as a call for the destruction of Israel. That's how they view it.
I
And
hope you
again,
can understand what I'm trying to say,
perspective
because
of
like you're
Israelis is basically they see things through the lens of everybody wants to kill us.
do you think
And so
a black
therefore-
white supremacist that defends the Confederacy is akin to a Jewish person that is defending Palestinian emancipation
My point
and
is that
saying
you
the
can
slogan?
you can find anybody to agree with any
I know,
fucking
but-
point. That the existence of somebody agreeing with a point is not proof of any fucking thing. And
There
the
are
suggestion that it
there
is
are a
stupid.
ton of white people who think Black Lives Matter means fuck all whites and only Black Lives Matter. That doesn't change the reality behind the slogan, and that doesn't change the morality behind the activism. And the same goes for Palestinian emancipation. Just because people who are in defense of Israel, okay, people who are defending Israel and its continuation of an apartheid regime because the opposite makes them feel like it's going to be genocidal, doesn't change the reality of the slogan behind it, and doesn't change the morality behind the actions. I am in support of Palestinians. I'm in support of all people living freely. I'm in support of
I am
permanent
too.
security.
Stop putting these fucking words in my mouth like I don't.
Oh,
the way
shit.
you set that up is fucked up, and that's why people get so
pro-Palestinian
angry.
I'm not putting words
I'm
in your mouth,
literally,
but you're putting words in
I'm
your mouth.
explaining to you why people find it offensive. That's it.
Here
I'm
with
not.
the
You know what I mean?
Jewish voice.
I'm telling you how people interpret that, and like when people double down on it and they use it, and people, it's offensive to the vast majority of Jews. I'm telling you, despite how
going
many
to-
you know that you could fit into a room that agree with you. I'm telling you
This is going to literally, like, I'm telling you, I don't know why you won't listen to me. I'm trying to, as your friend, I'm
Oh my god, dude.
seriously
The condescension.
urging you to reconsider your position,
What?
because if
Just
you are,
position. I'm literally just explaining why people find it offensive. What is my position exactly that is a problem? What's my position that's
your
a
position
problem?
comes along with the false conflation that this slogan is harmful to Jewish people. A slogan that is a slogan that is
that.
otherwise
Jew-
not harmful to
Jewish
Jewish people
people
can
believe
be
it is
used in an
harmful to
anti-Semitic
them.
fashion. A slogan
Jewish
that is
people believe it is harmful to them.
But that doesn't change the reality of the slogan or the fact that there are plenty of Jewish people who are in support of Palestinian emancipation who use it. It's a slogan at the end of the day for a morally righteous cause. Just because
But there's also fucking
those-
terrorists that want to kill a bunch of Jews also amongst that cause, despite it not being a lot. That's how fucking Jewish people and Israelis interpret it. I'm just telling you, dude.
Okay,
Whether you
Ethan.
agree or not, I'm just explaining it.
Ethan, I know you're just explaining it, except
Ooh, except you don't
The-
know. You don't understand, Ethan.
okay.
You're not gonna convince Jewish people that
It doesn't matter. I don't care about
It's not
convincing Jewish
offensive.
people. But first of all, I care about convincing whoever will actually listen and try to understand.
Preaching to my
from a
audience. I
charitable
like that he was honest
perspective
there. That was interesting.
what I'm
yeah.
trying to say. But ultimately, yes, I am not going to move on this position because people are uncomfortable by this slogan, considering what the slogan actually is. There's no reason to concede. There are certain things that I find
that's not
completely
true.
unacceptable.
There are reasons. I mean,
you
like you
wrote-
said,
if you wrote From the
Hamas
River to the
uses
Sea,
it, terrorist groups use it, and so like there are reasons. Whether you agree with them or not is you're justified
Hamas
to
says
disagree.
free Palestine as well. Does that mean free Palestine means eradication of Jews? It's in their charter too.
No, it doesn't mean that.
Okay, what's the difference then?
I mean, obviously the context matters, right? Some people mean it that way.
That's
some
what I
people don't.
said. That's what I said.
November's the 11th month, right? We're in the 11th
Right, but,
month?
but well, so free Palestine in it doesn't suggest the destruction of Israel, which is how again people interpret
No,
it.
that's not true. Plenty of
Free
Jews plenty of
Palestine.
Zionist Jews that I've seen think free Palestine means the destruction of Jews.
Okay.
Not just
Well,
Israel, the entirety of the international Jewish population.
I don't think that because from the river to the sea in the saying itself,
Oh, shit. It's 9/11 today. Wait, what the
Is
fuck?
people
No, it's not.
interpret
No, it's not
it
9/11.
as the
I just mind
annihilation
fucked
of
myself.
Israel.
Shut the fuck
That's
up.
how
You guys
people
are
see it.
Okay, when you want to understand what Black Lives Matter means, do you go to white people to ask it?
It's 9/11 for Europe today, right?
When you want to understand
Just
the
tell
meaning
me your
behind the
point. Just
slogan
tell me your
Black Lives
point.
Matter, do you ask white people what they think it means, or do you ask black people what they think it means?
I guess I would probably just ask anyone involved in that movement. I don't know.
Okay, that's great. Are there black people in the Black Lives Matter movement that like legitimately hate white people and like maybe want to even kill them? I'm sure there are. There's one. You can find one of everything. Okay, like I'm sure.
Does what you're doing essentially with your
does that
using
change
Jews as tokens?
Does that change? No, listen to my words. Does that change the broader movement and the morality behind Black Lives Matter, or does that change what people mean when they say Black Lives Matter?
Saying Black Lives Matter doesn't insinuate that other lives don't matter. It's there. It's in the fucking phrase, bro. I don't know what to tell you. From the river
to the sea, Palestine will be free. Also doesn't feature from the river to the sea. We should destroy Israel. And
what does from the river to the sea mean? It's talking about the original territory.
The secondary implication behind it.
Like,
I'm just telling you how people see it, bro.
I know, but if you were to tell me this is how white people feel about Black Lives Matter, I would say I don't care.
Black people don't have a history of trying to kill all the white people in the United States. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Explaining what this...
There's no inherent... Bro, there's nothing in Black Lives Matter that's saying that white lives don't matter.
There's nothing in from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free that implies Jewish people must be eradicated or Israel must be destroyed and Jewish people in it must be killed.
A lot of people disagree because you're talking about from the river to the sea.
Yes, a lot of people who are not Palestinian and a lot of people who are not anti-Zionist disagree.
We got
anti-Zionists, on the other hand, don't agree. And they're the ones who are using the slogan. So why would I'm asking you, if I'm not going to ask a white person who is against Black Lives Matter, why would what they feel about this slogan? Why would I go to in the broadest majority Zionists, both Jewish and Christian? Why would I ask them what they think about a Zionist, anti-Zionist slogan?
I already explained it, but you don't want to hear me.
Ooh.
What? No, I'm asking you. Like,
it's not in the fucking slogan itself says. People interpret it as destruction of Israel. I know it doesn't say let's destroy Israel,
but it's not.
But that's from the river to the sea is mainland Israel.
Okay, Ethan.
That's it, man. That's how people see it.
No, you can't simply say that's how people see it, and
it is though.
There. But it doesn't matter how Zionists see it. What matters is how anti-Zionists speak it. Anti-Zionists of all backgrounds, just like Zionists of all backgrounds, will sometimes cynically and other times, because they're misguided, think that this spells the genocide of Jews. It does not.
And do you care that your chat is calling me racist? Do you make any attempt to modify?
I have not looked at my chat.
I have no responsibility. I can't do anything about that.
I just opened it, but don't you have moderators? Do you care at all about what your audience says about me?
32,000 people in here right now. The reason why people are saying that is because of the conflations that you made, Ethan. That's why, I can't stop people from viewing you a certain way if you're gonna make these comparisons that they've heard from actually racist people. You literally implied that Jewish.
Notice how, oh my God, that was such a cute turnaround. Notice how Hassan's saying, because you've made arguments that racist people have made, you're allowed to be called racist. But for Hassan, the river from the sea thing has to be completely divorced from the genocidal Arabs or Palestinians or other people around the world. That has to be completely divorced. That was such a cute, quick turnaround right there. That was nice.